OK，大家好，欢迎来到今天的直播这个是安明，你好，
早上
安明，
好，大家好。
能不能自我介绍吧？
好，自我介绍，我叫安
嗯，
明，我是 Oriental Pearl 的创作人。怎么说呢？就是做视
主播，
频的人。我是一个新手，一个新的 YouTuber，很高兴认识大家。我来自密歇根州底特律市，现在在日本东京。好，早上
太好
好。
了。Hello，大家好，我是 Amy，来自澳大利亚。一般来说我在中国，现在就在悉尼，没办法回中国。今天的天气很好，你想看一下吗？哇，蓝天白云，好吧。这就是我。
因为你们那边是沙漠。Yeah, your weather is nice because you're in the desert.
不是，那儿
这里不
Sydney
可
isn't in
能
the
那
desert。
么那么蓝。现在每天都下雨。跟你说，现在日本很
哦，是
热，
吗？
又热
哦，
又对，湿度很高。
这里很冷，因为冬天我们是怎么
嗯，
说呢？opposite
正是
opposites。
相反的，相反的，
对对，
对对。
相反的，我们是
现在有
相反的。
点早，对不对？这里是
对
早上8点。你为什么要让我
对对对。
起得这么早？You made me get up so early this morning. I usually sleep until noon, don't you know? 一般来说，我会睡到11点、12点都有。
哎呦，安明，我太爱了你，谢谢你今天参加我们的直播。Well, for our friends out there that may not be speaking Chinese in their day-to-day lives or can't speak Chinese, I'm Amy. Thank you for joining today's live stream. I'm here with the one, the only, the Anming from Oriental Pearl. I'm so excited for our chat today. Would you be able to introduce yourself in English for people that may not know you that are watching from my channel?
Sure.
Tell everyone why they should go subscribe to you.
Sure. And I really blew that Chinese introduction out of nervousness.
Oh my god, don't worry.
I
If
didn't think
you
that was
blew it, I
very
blew
good.
it more. Mine was way worse.
My name is Ann Ming. Chinese name is Ann Ming. 平安安聪明的明. So that's how the characters are written. Please don't call me by that in Japanese. That would be Yasuaki, which is a boy's name in Japanese. So that's not the pronunciation that I use in Japan. Konnichiwa, ohayo gozaimasu. I know some Japanese viewers want to watch too, so good morning to them. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm a new YouTuber, so my channel really more or less just got started in February. Just some weird trend that was happening that kind of made it explode, but I started it last year just kind of to show my family, and now you've all become my family.
Yay! No, it's so good to have you. It's so good to meet you and have YouTube be this like connecting device for connecting different people together. And I've really been enjoying chatting with you these past weeks. But super excited for our chat today. We're going to be talking. So anyone who's watching from home, we're going to be talking about language learning. We're going to be talking about the process of moving to another country, whether that be China, whether that be Japan. We're going to be talking about like some direct comparisons between China and Japan. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I have a couple of rapid fire get to know you questions that we can both answer. You've already answered this. Where are you originally from? You're from Detroit, right? I'm from Sydney.
That's right.
So we'll just move on to the next one. Why, Anming, did you first come to China specifically?
That's an excellent question, and I get asked that like a lot by people in person, and I don't want to give you a long-winded answer to that. I just really got this spirit of adventure in my last year of uni, and I had a Chinese boyfriend. My boyfriend now is Japanese.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
he lives in China. So it kind of, I was influenced by the Chinese international students at my uni in my university in America. And I got this great feeling that I wanted an adventure. And I went to China for 1 month to be like a teacher, like a free teacher, kind of a volunteer. And I didn't want to leave. I went to Xi'an. Xi'an was the first city I went to.
I love
And
Xi'an.
I didn't want to leave, and I wanted to stay. And then I went back and got my big grown-up job, actually at a Taiwanese company. Didn't like it, quit after 2 months. And then moved back to, officially moved to China, moved to Harbin, which is where my ex-boyfriend was. I actually broke up with him to move to China. He wanted to
How
stay in
ironic.
America.
That's so ironic. You had a Chinese boyfriend who you had to break up with to go to China, and now you have a Japanese boyfriend living in China. So fun.
And I can't see him because I'm locked out of China. I haven't
Well,
seen
girl,
him in
join the club.
5 months. It sucks so badly. Like, I'm gonna cry. I mean, you're in a similar situation too. You're locked out of China as well. So that's why I feel a connection to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, shout out to all the long distance babes and dudes out there that are doing it tough at the moment, because you know, sometimes you may even be in the same country right now, but you're still not able to see your other half. So my boyfriend's in Germany, and we were planning on moving to China like this end of this year, early next year, for me to start a job and for him to like get a transfer with his company to Beijing. And yeah, everything's kind of been thrown up in the works, and I haven't seen him in 5 months. And I don't even want to think about until when's the next time I'm going to see him. How are you getting through this difficult time? Like, are you just FaceTiming a lot? Have you got any tricks for me?
To be honest, the YouTube thing, it was very sudden. I didn't like YouTube. I'm going to just say that straight up. And I still don't like a lot of things about it. But it has been a great distraction because life is really hard right now, I think, for everyone. And we kind of need something to get our minds off of all this. And it has been a distraction. But yeah, I talked to him on Skype. But of course, it's not the same. We're just holding on to, you know, like maybe next month. Or maybe the month after. I didn't want to go back to America like you went back to Australia, and I'm really glad. I was at a crossroads, and I made a video about it in March. Like, I had the chance to either go home or stay here or go to China, and I should have just gone to China at that time. You know, hindsight's 2020, but because now I really can't get in. Even from Japan, I'm not allowed in. But I think I have a better chance of getting in here waiting in Japan than I would in America, unfortunately. So I'm trying not to go home, but you're home right now. So
I'm home, but it's not too bad because, Australia was going very well in terms of the whole COVID situation. There has been a recent spike in one of our cities, so that's a bit worrying.
Oh, hey.
Has there been a spike in Japan at all? Oh, really?
Oh my gosh. Like I kept seeing all these things online saying, oh, Japan is doing so well. It's doing so well. Oh, I guess they didn't get the message that, things really got bad in the past few weeks in Tokyo. There's more corona here than there ever has been. So we're just looking to see how the government's going to react to that. But tough times. So YouTube's been a blessing just quickly,
to no, it's been really great watching your videos. I have in the past few months, like a lot of other people, been watching people in exotic cool communities and speaking different languages to feel like I'm traveling. So I've been watching your videos a lot to kind of get a bit of a travel feel. I've been loving your videos, and if anyone is watching from my channel and maybe doesn't already subscribe to Anming, you should, because she speaks fluent Japanese, she speaks fluent Chinese, and like it's good to watch to like help you learn the languages as well. So everyone go over and
thank you for the shout out.
Of course, girls got to support girls.
I say the same for you as well, and even my Japanese viewers or people studying Japanese, there's a lot of similarities. I see some in the comments. Ohayo gozaimasu, Kelly-san no videoを見て so somebody saw another collab that I did with a Japanese YouTuber, a person in Japan doing YouTube. The topic is Japan. She's not Japanese, but I mean, there's a mix of both. And I think people interested in China would be interested in Japan vlogs, and people interested in Japan vlogs, go over, check Amy's channel out, learn a little bit about China. There's more in common than you think.
I agree. I have been to Japan a few times. I haven't done any vlogs from there. But Japan's a really fun country. Lots of similarities, lots of differences. At the moment, I just want to go everywhere. I just wish I could go anywhere.
And you can't go anywhere.
Well, no, not right now. Yeah, Australia's really strict. Our borders are like shut.
Yeah, you can't even get out. Well, that's one step further. People keep asking, and it's a hot topic, when can I get into Japan? When can I get into China? And wow, that is really tough. I wish I could give answers. If you're a tourist, then I wouldn't expect to get in this year, to be
No.
honest, unless you're from a really low level low level COVID infection country. As far as like people that were living here, I hope they can get back soon.
Yeah.
It'll go business people, then students, and then tourists last. So tourism, yeah, there's not much hope for that, but maybe if you're in the other group, maybe you can
Yeah.
slide in there.
Yeah,
Hoping.
well, it's never been a better time to explore your own country. And as weird as it is, I've seen more of China than I have Australia. So I'm going to do my best to do some travel around Australia. Yeah, it'll
Good.
be interesting. Not so sure how my subscriber base would react to Australia content because it's kind of a bit of far out of left field in terms of what I usually do. So yeah, I guess I just experiment a bit, see how it goes.
That's a funny thing because Japan is having a campaign in August where you can ride the Shinkansen, which is basically the Gaotie, for
Yeah.
50% off. But they're telling us you should travel in Japan, but you should stay home. But
Yeah.
you should go and spend your money, but you should not go into bars and restaurants and tourist attractions and so I'm
Yeah.
getting mixed messages here.
Like go on the
Doesn't make any
Gautier, but
sense.
like just don't do anything
But
when you go anywhere.
go somewhere, but stay at home. It doesn't make any sense.
How fun. Yeah, I love experiencing countries from the inside of my hotel room. So good. We have something big in common, which is we have experiences in China in common, and we both learned Chinese. And you all obviously, as at the moment, are also learning Japanese. So in terms of like our Chinese journey, I want to ask you a question. I have a little banner here for it. Sorry. So how did you go about learning Chinese? Like what was your method of making that happen?
I did a little self-study before going to China. That was due to the influence of the international students at our university in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to get into their group and become friends with them. And then the boyfriend as well, though he didn't help me very much. You would think like you're dating a person of that country with that, native level,
Yeah.
and or married to them, you'd think that would, give you an advantage, but actually
That's what everyone tells me.
Necessarily.
Like everyone tells me, oh, you need to get a Chinese boyfriend. It's the quickest way to improve
That
Chinese.
only works if you already know Chinese or Japanese to a certain level. To have a spouse that's from Japan or a spouse that's from China,
yes.
That really makes it awkward with a teacher-student relationship. But if you already know a lot, like my boyfriend, I had studied Japanese for 5 years before I met him. So we do a mix of English and Chinese English and Japanese. Sometimes a little Chinese, but his Chinese is in the works. And I just don't expect him to teach me anything, but I also really want to be his English teacher. I think that's awkward. So yeah, in the beginning, I just did self-study, flashcards, stuff like that. But my pronunciation was so bad with like the shangdiao, the accents.
Yeah,
or
mine are still bad.
The pinyin, there were some sounds that I couldn't get, like re was one of the hardest, hot in Chinese.
Yeah.
And xue, or
that was
like
a hard one for me as well.
Yeah. Study, that pronunciation. I got it all wrong in the beginning. My Chinese was terrible until I went to a Chinese school and they set me straight because I did so much self-study. I taught myself wrong. That's is something everyone needs to be aware of. I can do everything by myself. I can learn everything through an app. And then you end up teaching yourself wrong sometimes. Like I did. That took a long time.
Well, the thing is, you've had your self-study route in terms of starting Chinese. I started with in university. I was studying Chinese at my home university in Australia in a formal classes environment. I had the same problem as you. So, I would say that having like a classroom environment is good for like learning the basics and not to make the bad habits. But in a university environment, there was a big focus on reading and writing, speaking and listening and emphasize. So I was studying Chinese for 2 years. I went to China and I realized, oh my goodness, my tones are terrible. I'm speaking everything in fourth tone. No one can understand a thing that I'm saying. Like, oh, wow, this is actually super important. So I had to like go back to the beginning
Yeah.
and relearn
Yeah.
every single tone. And to this day, my tones are terrible. So I wish I could have gone back and just focused more on tones. So how did you go about correcting your tones, like years after starting Chinese on your own?
It wasn't years after, luckily. I
Okay, that's
did
good.
a little self-study just before going to China. And then the first 6 months in Harbin, in the north of China, I just self-studied there and I talked to people. But it was so limiting. It was really so limiting because I didn't have anyone to help me with reading and writing. And I really feel like that's something that gets skipped. Okay, so there's a lot of people that speak Chinese, spoken Chinese, and as well as on YouTube. And I'd have to say the person I think speaks, well, probably one of the best out there is Ma Sirui, Chris,
Yeah.
because
Oh
he
my
lived
God,
there
his
for 8
Chinese,
years.
crazy, so good.
It's
Yeah.
very good. I do wonder, though, how he reads and writes it, because that's not something you can really show off on YouTube. I have yet to do anything with that on my channel.
Maybe we can introduce him to a live discussion and have an on-screen display of all of our writing skills. Guys, let's put this out into the universe.
We're gonna do an essay review in Chinese. We're gonna get out our scripts and read that. This is gonna be like, you know, the most popular video ever. I'm gonna bring out my 70-page thesis and like entertain people with that. So these
I will
things don't
moderate.
really work on YouTube. They don't really work on YouTube.
Not really, but maybe there's a niche crowd that would be providing too. So you were saying on the route of like, because this is a topic we wanted to talk about as well in today's stream, like,
Sure.
Is learning written Chinese/Japanese important? In my opinion, extremely important. I think it's something that is so useful and actually helps you learn the language quicker. Like when you're, for example, I have my flashcards here. 1 second. I have my Chinese flashcards that I make every time I watch some Chinese TV. And I find that if I have the characters here and then the English here, I can recognize that. Oh, wow. What a I've chosen the weirdest one. I've chosen the character for virus. Weird.
Oh no, Amy.
I didn't mean to do that. It was just the top one. But yeah, like
It's a bad luck.
This is the second one I picked up.
Show. Why?
I was watching a crime show in Chinese, and so I have all this wacky vocab. But anyway, my point was, I think it's easier to memorize the actual word when I have the character there. What are your thoughts on this topic, Anming? Enough from me. On to you.
Writing?
Yeah.
It's extremely important. I was an English teacher for a very long time, so I do have qualifications to give language learning advice. I did that for like 8 years.
Yeah.
And I had so many students with that issue. They would say, I'm a Japanese person or I'm a Chinese person. I know English, but I can't, I know how to read it. I know how to write some sentences, but I can't understand if it's spoken or I can't speak. Well, then you're missing half. Then I don't really think that you can fully say you know English if you don't know how to listen to it or speak it. Same with Chinese or Japanese. I hear that a lot, especially from Western people. I can speak it, but I can't read it or write it. Well, then same thing. And I see that with Japanese people studying Chinese. They'll say that they can read it because it's got kanji, hanzi, but they cannot pronounce it or read it out loud. Well, then
you need
I feel you need to be well balanced to really have a mastery of the language.
Yeah.
Try to get all your levels even. Don't have a huge gaping hole in your knowledge. That's only going to come back to bite you.
Exactly. And the time to learn your characters is right at the beginning when you're just getting started, when it probably sounds the hardest time to learn it. But
is it? I didn't do it that way. Is it? Amy?
Oh, really? You learned?
I didn't do it that way. I didn't do it that way.
I would just, because I had to go back and relearn my tones, and that was hard enough. I was like, if I had to go back right now and learn characters from scratch, that would just be, I don't think I'd even have the courage to do that. But I have, like, one of the biggest reasons people say, like, oh, you know, I don't want to learn how to write Chinese is because it's like, you know, I'm not going there to write an essay. I'm going there to speak with people. But communication, I communicate right now in Australia. I'm communicating with all of my Chinese friends via WeChat, via text, and being able to type and write Chinese is a huge benefit to me in communication. And when using apps or ordering at restaurants, like, I think it's very, very important. And I would encourage everyone learning Chinese to learn the characters. And
you hit that wall really fast when you go into China, like me, with spoken but no written ability. You're like, oh dang, this is very limiting. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't even read a menu.
Literally. We just got a super chat from Australia guy in China. Hi, Rowan, just on my channel. And he's asking here, would you recommend trying to avoid reading and writing too much pinyin to improve your Chinese, or embrace things like phonetic spelling? I think he's trying to ask, reading too much pinyin. I think pinyin is important if you're going to learn Chinese.
That's the same with romaji in Japanese. It's asking a similar question. Should I rely on that romanized version of Chinese and Japanese as opposed to actually learning hiragana, katakana, kanji, so the alphabet in Japanese or the characters in Chinese? Yeah, absolutely. You need to move on past that. If you take any classes, I mean, that's the first step, right? But if you take any classes in Japanese or Chinese, they'll try to wean you off of that slowly. You can't be dependent on it because it is just, you can learn how to pronounce it, but you won't be able to read any signs or anything. There's not a lot of pinyin in China, like on signs and stuff. Menus, they don't have it's not written above there.
No, definitely not. Yeah. That actually brings me to my next question. How are we practicing language learning now? So, I mean, your Chinese, in my opinion, is so perfect. And if anyone is watching wondering whose Chinese is better, it's definitely Ann Ming. So there's no competition here. So at the moment, am I correct in saying you're focusing more on Japanese, or are you still taking steps towards learning Chinese more?
I'll write down a few words in Chinese when I hear them, like when I just submitted my graduation thesis. So there were words that my advisor had put in there and I had to look them up and write them down. They were very professional words I hadn't heard before. But no, generally my focus is Japanese, though now I'm distracted by YouTube. I'm glad I did this much later. I would have never studied either language. Taking up time.
So how are you going?
Write it.
How you?
I'll write it many
just
writing.
Times.
Yeah. I'll get these new words, and this is obviously Japanese, but I'll just write it again and again and again, and say it out loud, and write it over and over and over again. That's my method. I'm not saying that's the best one, but really, at the end of the day, any method is pretty good if you put enough time into it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, how's this app? How's this book? How's this software? They're all pretty good. I haven't seen many that I was like, that's no good. If you put enough time into it, I mean, anything should work for you.
I actually was talking to I go to this tea house a lot, and it's my main method of practicing Chinese at the moment, actually. And the tea house owner, Raymond, he's so like knowledgeable and very like comes up with all these really fun ideas. And he said something yesterday that really struck me. It's saying nothing is hard. It's just how much you practice towards it. Like nothing, like learning Chinese isn't hard. It's just practice. It's learning Japanese isn't hard. It's as long as you just put in the hours and you practice, you will get there. And like, before I started learning Chinese, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like this is going to be so hard. I'm going to struggle so bad. But the moment I actually started the process, I never felt hard. I just felt like,
wow,
it's going to take some time. I've started the process. It's going to chip away. What's your thoughts on that?
你的经历跟我完全不一样. Your experience is the complete opposite of mine.
Oh,
yeah. 有好多
Can
时
you?
候我都要放弃学中文，觉得太难了，我就把那个课本给扔了，就扔到墙壁。Boom! I threw the book when I was learning Chinese multiple times,
Yeah.
many times. No, I had a lot of frustrations, and I think that a lot of people get to that point, especially moving to another country as well. You get the
Yeah.
crisis. I can't do anything. What did I just sign myself up for? I feel so stupid, and I'm making mistakes, because you have to make all your mistakes in a short period of time. So I got extremely frustrated reading the Harry Potter books in Chinese
Oh,
and trying to read them out loud and stuff. Oh, 哈利波特.
this was my first ever book I read in Chinese, and I just have it here as just like a bit of a motivation, and sometimes I'll pick it up and read a page or two. Yeah,
That's
I love that as
wonderful.
a method. But yeah, I
I
completely
tried to read
understand the.
pages out loud.
Oh wow,
I get so frustrated with it.
that's
Like I was
actually.
like mad at myself.
Yeah, no, I can understand the frustration, and that's a really good idea actually, because when I read, I'm just in my head, and reading it aloud actually forces you to start thinking about what are the tones, what are the how do
Yeah.
I pronounce this correctly? That's a great idea, but that just adds a
I
whole
had that
level of difficulty.
I had that issue with Japanese because I went from knowing Chinese to learning Japanese, and I had passed HSK6.
Hmm.
And if anyone's familiar, that's 汉语水平考试. I passed HSK6 in 2015 and waited to pass that test to start studying Japanese. And of
Yeah,
course, knowing Chinese is an extremely big advantage with Japanese in every
yeah,
way, especially the characters. And sometimes I read things out loud in Japanese that I
yeah,
can definitely, I'll read books in my head. And
yeah.
then I got schooled really big time in the Japanese classroom when I went to Waseda, 早稻田
Oh,
大学,
cool.
for
Yeah,
that exchange. And the teachers asked us in class to read our textbook out loud for our
yeah.
international relations class. And I
Oh, wow.
really embarrassed myself because I realized I didn't actually pronounce the words right, the kanji, the characters. Sometimes I would
Yeah.
pronounce them the Chinese way. And people are
Oh,
like,
yeah.
where did you get that from? Just, where'd that
Yeah.
come from?
But that, like, I guess that kind of forces you to like push yourself. In my experience of
Yep.
learning Chinese, the
You've got
times
to
where I've
expose your
progressed the
weaknesses. Mm-hmm.
100%, like in the times I've progressed the fastest have been the times I was under the most amount of pressure. Like the times I went to do, I'm sure you've heard of Hanyu Chao, the Chinese bridge competition.
You did TV,
My,
yeah.
did you ever do that?
I did one TV show, but not 汉语桥.
You would have
And it was
won.
so much pressure.
I know, like, because when I went, my Chinese was horrible. Like it was so horrible, but everyone around me was so amazing, and I felt so much pressure. But like that made me push myself more to practice. And then when I was living with my Chinese roommates, I felt pressure because not in a bad way, but they're all speaking Chinese. I want to be able to speak, and the most frustrating thing is when all you want to do is communicate. You can listen perfectly. I know exactly what you're saying, but how do I communicate with you? And it's like, but then you improve. So I really feel like you need the environment, people speaking either Chinese or Japanese around you all the time to improve your listening, and the pressure.
You can create your own environment with like
100%.
recordings and stuff as well.
The way I've been studying at the moment is creating literally that exact combination for myself and others here in Sydney. So before there was a bit of a spike in the COVID situation, I was holding meetups. So people who were either Chinese themselves or learning Chinese or have an interest in China could come together and just speak Chinese. And as soon as you step on the patch of grass, you must speak Chinese. And it's a good way of giving you that pressure that you wouldn't usually get. And it's also been a great way to make new friends. So that's how I've been practicing language learning at the moment. And
it's humbling. It's a humbling experience. And if you want to take, once you've gotten good at one language and you're like, the 中国通, try Japanese or Korean, you go right back to the beginning. It's like, I thought I was up there, and then you're right back at the bottom again. It's extremely humbling. And I had that with going from Chinese to Japanese, because suddenly you're the dumb foreigner again. I was like, no, I passed it. I'm not I know what's going on. And then I moved to Japan. I'm like, Now I don't know what's going on again.
Yeah, that must have been so difficult for you. And I want to ask you
It's
about that in one
humbling.
second.
Yeah.
But first, I just want to shout out to Greg. Thank you so much for your super chat. And yeah, thank you for all your help today in the chat as well. But okay, so this is the question I wanted to ask you. How did you find going from learning Chinese to going to Japan and learning Japanese? Like, can you just outline some of the differences, the similarities, which one was easier, which one was harder? Like, yeah, let us know.
Sure. Without a doubt, no, as someone who knows both of them to a high level, Japanese is way harder. It is
Wow.
because
Yeah.
it gets so much harder at the advanced level. Chinese is hard at the start. It is harder
Yeah.
than Japanese at the start because it doesn't have an alphabet. And I see a lot of different YouTubers being mentioned. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about those because they kind of push themselves a little too far with the languages, studying too many at the same time. I really believe in getting to the advanced level, and that means on different, in reading and writing and speaking and everything, not just speaking. And speaking formally, I have yet to see any YouTubers speak in formal Chinese or Japanese. Japanese, there's a guy named Dogen, and he does speak at that level in front of the camera. But yeah, Japanese is harder because it has Sonkeigo, Kenjogo. It's called Jingyu Keigo, which is formal language. Like instead of ni, it becomes nin.
Nin, yeah.
Like in Chinese, they don't have that where you're talking to your boss versus talking to your friend, and the verbs are going to change. The whole vocabulary is going to change. Just in Chinese, the vocabulary itself changes. The verb conjugation, they don't even have verb conjugation. Oh yeah, at that level of Japanese, when you go into business Japanese, it's way harder than Chinese.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Has there been anything that's been maybe easier about Japanese than Chinese, or is just in general Japanese is just way harder?
It's less intimidating. It's less intimidating in the beginning because you have an alphabet. The pronunciation is easier. There's no tones. There's a pitch accent, but no standard tones. The tones were really awkward for me in the beginning. Yeah. They got better. I think everybody is that way.
I have another question for you. That's what I've heard, and it's good to have it confirmed. I myself would love to learn another Asian language, or another language in general. But as you said, it's good to get to that advanced stage before you progress to a new one. And since I feel like I've never really reached that advanced stage with Chinese, I have been hesitant to go off and learn a new language because I feel like it would confuse me. And that kind of brings me into my next question. I have a lot of people that I know that learn two Asian languages at the same time. Most commonly, it's Chinese and Japanese at the same time. I would find that would be super kind of difficult. Do you have any thoughts on or advice for people who may be learning both Chinese and Japanese at the same time?
Okay, my advice is don't do that. Don't ever do that. Unless if you're just a hobbyist, at the end of the day, do whatever you want. But I have to say that I did not like YouTube. I did not like the polyglot community on YouTube. Not that everybody is not actually polyglot. Some aren't actually, but there are some that are. But I could not get over some of the advice as a language teacher. I was like, this is so cringe. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, my gosh, why are you doing that? Oh, no, don't tell them to do that. And studying Chinese and Japanese at the same time is one of them. No, you want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. And sorry, that's what I see in a lot of the polyglots. No, I mean, if you're a musician, you're a professional musician, and you hear someone play your instrument, then you know if it's played well or not. If you don't speak Chinese or Japanese, you just hear someone on YouTube, you don't really have much of a gauge except look at the native speakers. But I think Amy, that you can say 你好 or just a few 你好很高兴认识你 哇你中文太厉害了 or in Japanese はじめましてよろしくお願いします。わ、すごい日本語はめっちゃうまい Like that's the natural reaction at any level.
Exactly. So I completely agree with what you're saying. Actually, I just seen a comment
Yep.
from Happy from the Asian Enthusiast, and we follow each other
Aw,
on Instagram. And
she
I don't
seems
know if you
nice.
know, she's beautiful, and everyone should go follow her on Instagram and YouTube. But Happy speaks, I believe, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. So Happy, do you reckon you could get back to us and let us know whether you learnt those three at the same time or whether you learnt them separately? I'm interested to hear your experience. But yeah, like.
Oh,
I'm
she's
looking
very
forward to.
young though.
Oh,
If you're a teenager, I think she's a little older than teenager now, but I think she learned that in high school and middle
yeah.
school. Now that is different. Okay, I
That
should
yeah, no,
rephrase
yeah,
myself. If you're a very young person,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
then it's
Well,
possible. Otherwise, get to a certain level of HSK before you take on Japanese, or get to a certain level. I'd
yeah,
say N2, at least N2 before you take on Chinese, and for HSK at least HSK 5 before you take on
yeah.
Japanese. Otherwise, you're just selling yourself short. You really
I
are.
feel like
You're
you'd
not gonna
get
get
really
to the
confused.
advanced level.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
yeah, I read
you
something
would.
somewhere that saying before 25, you your brain can absorb things easier when it comes to languages, and then after 25 it gets like significantly harder to learn a new language. So if you're out there watching and you're under
Yes.
25, get in all that language practice now.
You absolutely will confuse them. A lot of people
Yeah.
ask me, because I did some language switch videos, how can you talk between Chinese and Japanese? You know, 1 minute you're going, 你好，我今天要去超市买点东西。一緒に行きませんか? Like, you know, like half and half or whatever. And how can I switch it? It's because I had passed HSK 6 before learning Japanese. It was so solid in my
Yeah.
head, I'm not going to get them mixed up very easily. It doesn't happen
Yeah.
very often. But if you
No, I
put
think that's
yourself in
really
that
good advice.
position, you take
Mm-hmm.
on too much, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna mix
Yeah.
them up. You're gonna mix them up.
Well, hopefully in a few years I'll feel like solid enough in my Chinese to move on to another language. I should be learning more German, considering my boyfriend is German. But I just have this
Hey.
real interest in Asia, and I would love to, yeah, explore another culture as well. It's been so fulfilling and so humbling, yeah, being in China, and yeah, I want to keep that exploration going into the future, whether that be in China or a different Asian country. Well, that brings me on to our next kind of topic, which is what was it like for you and me? I'll answer this as well. Like going away from your life in America or Australia and kind of pushing yourself into this new environment. How was that experience for you?
It was hard. It was shocking. You know, it's very hard the first year. You hit this point where you're in the honeymoon phase when you first get
Yeah.
there, and then you go into the crisis and shock phase, like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this was a mistake. And a lot of people don't get over that, and they start complaining about the country a lot, and that's really, and sometimes that never goes away.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of negativity about China and Japan from foreigners living there, and I think that some of it's on them. Most of it's on them.
Well, yeah, one of my
Like
biggest
the
pet
people
peeves.
themselves.
Yeah, like my biggest pet peeve is the people who go to another country and judge that country by their own cultural viewpoint, because everywhere is different, and that doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that that's wrong. It means that it's different. And I think one of the ways that I've been in China for so long and just have loved it, and I love traveling, is because I don't like going to places and be like, oh, that's weird, that's wrong, that's gross. Like, just kind of, you have to kind of mold yourself to the different countries. And I think that's what makes traveling so enjoyable for me. But I think if you get into that and you go somewhere and you're like, oh, well, why are the toilets different? That's so weird. Like, I don't like this country. You're probably not going to like enjoy staying anywhere. Yeah, but continue. Sorry, I cut in there.
That brings up the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, and something I wanted to touch on about China and to a lesser extent Japan. There's a lot of negativity, and that's understandable. I like to be neutral on the China issue. I'm a person who loves China and Japan, and if you didn't notice, they don't get along very well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, two of my favorite countries in America, so my three favorite countries don't get along well at all. Kind of caught in between, but a lot of negative, edgy China videos out there right now. And I had heard from channel that actually I don't completely disagree with some of his points, but I think that it's another, you know, kind of clickbaity titles and whatever. But Serpent ZA had said that in one of his videos, I didn't watch a whole lot. I had seen one though. He's a very soft-spoken guy. He's just kind of got a likable personality, but he had said you can't remain neutral on the China issue online. You either are super, super pro-China, it's the best ever, everything's good, America sucks, or you're very against it and everything about China is bad, that you can't maintain a neutral position. But I just don't agree. I think that if you were saying negative things about Japan, no, I know you would get trolled like crazy, as well as some other countries that are even more strict about that online. Now, I'm not saying that from the government perspective. I'm saying getting trolled online. You say one thing about the Philippines, man. I love the Philippines. It's like, shout out to the Philippines. It's one of my favorite countries because it's a Catholic country, but oh, no, don't say anything about the Philippines. Cried out.
Yeah, like I think it has a lot to do with yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the motivation of everyone's, like different people have different reasons for starting their channel. And like for me, my personal motivation for doing what I'm doing is to show people a side of China that isn't broadcast on the news, and to humanize a country that people have been taught is very strict and rigid and gray and polluted. Like, I just want to give justice to a side of a really beautiful country that people don't see. And for me, that's all I'm interested in doing. It's not saying that I agree with every single thing that China does. Of course, there are lots of things going on that, but with every country,
Amy,
there are lots
are you a spy? Amy, are you a spy? Are you getting your checks from the Chinese government?
How about you, Anming?
If I'm a spy, I'm still waiting for my checks because I haven't gotten anything yet.
Well, yeah,
Japan,
it's only
or America or China. So please
it's to be
send that over, whoever's listening.
Literally, like I get those comments all the time, like, "Oh, are you a spy? Why are you making this channel?" But I guess it's only to be expected at the moment. There's been a big rise in anti-China sentiment at the moment, which just gives me more motivation to do what I'm doing. But yeah, if I am a spy, I am waiting for my check.
You know who asked me if I'm a spy the most is Chinese people. When in the last few years, like at Fudan, where my Chinese got a lot more professional sounding, and the content was a lot harder than what I showed on my channel. But like, people would ask me if I was a spy for America.
Oh my gosh!
It's like their mind just jumped there immediately. I'm like, y'all watch too much TV, man.
No, it's unfortunate. I just want everyone to get along. Just peace and love.
Well, that's not going to happen. In a perfect world, sure, yeah. But I mean, in reality, no, it's not going to happen. Here's the thing, though. If you're a regular person and you're visiting China, if you're a Japanese person, you're visiting China, if you're an American and you're just a regular everyday person, you don't have to be worried about being like watched. Basically, there's 3 categories of people that could get into a weird situation over there. A foreign reporter, a high-profile person like a diplomat, or a person who's working for a tech company, like the CEO of a tech company, or and this one really gets me. This is why I just can't be on board 100%. I'm not signing up for the spy stuff, is the Christian missionaries.
Really?
I had a lot of missionary friends. If you want to know where I learned a lot of my Chinese is from the Christian community. Yeah, so if you're involved in those 3 things, then you might run into some stuff. Or if you do something like take pictures of a protest in China, I don't recommend you do that. Or if you're a political activist going over there, you might have a weird experience. But I mean, everybody else, are you serious? Like, I'm just you think too much of yourself if you think that I much about a tourist.
Something that you can't help but notice about China. I don't know what the case is in Japan, but there are a lot of like security cameras everywhere, and I know that makes people feel some people feel a bit uneasy. For me, I don't have anything to hide, and I'm actually kind of happy for the extra security. And I think it's one of the reasons why China is quite, like, in my opinion, a very safe country. Like, what country, I don't know, you can go to a park at 2 a.m. in the morning, and the biggest thing you have to fear
Japan.
is Japan. Japan is also super safe as well.
And there's less it's safer actually
Oh
from a
wow,
theft
interesting.
perspective. Now, there's not a lot of bodily like harm in China. You're not likely to get stabbed, but petty theft and things like that, yeah, there's quite a lot.
Well,
Singapore is
touch
also
wood.
very safe as well.
Yeah, oh,
Singapore
I
is
love
probably the
Singapore.
safest.
Oh my God. I love Singapore. To all the Singapore
Yeah,
people watching now, like, hello, and just go and have some chicken
Singapore.
rice for me. Like, oh my God. I miss
Yeah,
Singapore.
that's a
I love
cool
Singapore.
country.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to travel bubbles opening up because Australia is going quite well, and I feel like Singapore, even Taiwan is
Oh
going really
man.
well. So as soon as I can go anywhere, like I'm just gonna go and like live in Taiwan for a few months or live in Singapore for a few months and just eat some really good food and
Yeah, I'm not trying to evade the question here
yeah.
about the China stuff. You know what? If you're an everyday person, you're going there to travel, go. There were some Canadians I remember canceling their trips to China when the Huawei stuff was really hot, and some
Oh yeah.
Canadian tech giants, the CEOs of those companies or high-profile people were getting I don't know, getting into trouble when they went there. They ran into some issues. Yeah, that doesn't happen to everyday people
Yeah.
very often. If you're just on a tour, I really don't. I just
You're
can't
gonna be
get on board
fine.
with that.
Yeah, no,
Dress
you're
up
gonna
in a
be
suit
fine.
and pretend to be a secret agent or something. And I can't help but feel that a lot of people who are talking online about the China issues don't have any qualifications whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it either, really, because I don't like to talk online with a bunch of, with a bunch of Joe Blows who can hide behind a keyboard or whatever and say whatever they want. They don't know anything about the issues. But I do have a degree in international relations, a master's from Fudan. I'm going to get it this month, actually, graduating
Ooh,
next month.
congrats.
Yeah, hey, thanks. So I did study this as a major, China, Japan, America relations. Like that's my area.
Wow.
And
I
I
would
watched some of
love to
these
read your
videos.
thesis.
Yeah, I'm talking about a whole bunch of categories of videos too as well. I watched some of them when they talk about China. I'm like, oh, this is so cringe. Oh, this is so cringe. You don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the American side too, and I'm still like, who are you? What are you talking about? Who gave you
Well, I
this?
guess
Where's
like
your master's degree in international relations?
it's
Yeah, now
one of the
I'm
good and
being
bad thing
cheeky.
about no, be cheeky. This is a platform. YouTube is a platform that anyone can pick up a camera and say their thoughts. You are entitled to talk now about whatever you want to talk about, as is anyone who wants to pick up a camera
Yeah,
and give their experiences. And yeah, it's only natural
yeah.
that there's going to be like people that may be right, may be wrong, and clashing opinions. So yeah, it's a crazy world out there.
I like to talk about this. I like to talk about this in the classroom with educated people, not on the internet. It's just not
Yeah.
even. I just get so frustrated.
Well,
I
you know what?
actually argued with my classmates a lot at Fudan. We had completely different views on a lot of topics. Actually,
Yeah.
sometimes they ganged up on me because I was very pro-American on a lot of topics. But at least they were educated and they had,
Yeah.
I'm not talking to just someone online. That's just
No,
not
like I've
even
seen my comment box. I've seen the kind of trolls
worthwhile.
that go there. I don't want to be talking anything like educational with some of these people that are calling me all these names. But anyway,
Oh,
what do you love
just
and not
whatever.
love about China? Let's go into that first before I ask you what you love and don't love about Japan. I want to know the goods and the bads and the uglies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say
So
the
maybe we
food.
can
I
start off.
love the
Oh, yeah.
food.
Yeah. Of
Love
what?
the
Of
food.
China?
东北菜.
Oh my God,
The northeastern food. I love
I
that.
love that.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people ask, like, especially with 东北菜, it's known to be so oily. How do you stay thin in Asia? Like,
Good topic.
actually, it's easier to stay thin in Japan. I love that there's so many opportunities to exercise in China and Japan. Like, we don't have a car society. I didn't have a car in China. I had to walk. I actually lost weight in moving to China. I don't know about you.
I do. Every time I go to
you?
China, yeah, I completely drop kilos. I don't know why, because I'm eating way more. But I think it also comes into the fact that I'm walking a lot more because I like to explore. And when I'm in China, I'm usually in work vlogging mode. So I'm going from like sunrise to sunset, filming things around the city. And but yeah, Dongbei food was ridiculously good. But yeah, curiously enough, when I was in Dongbei for a couple of weeks, I actually like lost weight. It was really weird.
It's funny because the Japanese, when they go over there for business or to live in China, they end up gaining a lot of weight. Just like my boyfriend, he gained weight in China, just a little, but when he went to America, he gained 10 kilos.
Yeah, well, I guess in America, the foods that you're eating are like, I don't know, this is totally stereotyping here, but maybe more like
it's okay.
Hamburgers. I don't know.
Oh, America's triggered.
Fries.
We are triggered. You don't want to trigger America right now. This is cancel culture going on here.
Oh really?
My gosh.
So that's not a good. Okay.
Somebody they tried to cancel me because of the name Oriental Pearl, and then
what's wrong with that name?
It's the name of a tower. It's got the word Oriental in it. Oriental is a trigger word. It has to do with the history of America, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I picked the name and I stick by it because I stick by what I say. It is the name of. It's not. It doesn't. You can't take American history and view China. You just can't do that. You can't use your country's standards to judge another country. No, that's not a. That's not a touchy word in Asia, and that's the famous tower in Shanghai. So, yeah.
I never even considered that when it came to your channel, but yeah, no. Oh, I love the name. I think it's a very catchy, very, very nice name. Well, people gave me hate about my name in the beginning because they were like, so what are you saying? Like, if you were brunette in China, like, would that be a different experience? Like, are you being
what if you're a redhead?
Yeah,
you are just excluding redheads from this conversation. How dare you?
I know. I know. I'm really sorry to the redheads, the brunettes, every hair color out there. I respect you and love you.
Yeah.
This isn't just a channel for blonde. I just happen to be blonde. But tell me more about how you stay thin in China.
I don't do anything. I just live. Yeah. I don't have a car. I have to walk. I eat a lot of sweets, but they're not high calorie anything. I just don't ingest a lot of calories every day. Everything is just kind of light.
I eat a lot more veg when I'm in China, curiously enough. Like, there's just so many delicious veggie dishes. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. But I've been cooking a lot more Chinese food at home here as well. And actually, probably the majority of my food pyramid here in Australia is Chinese food. I'm learning all these new dishes. I'm getting better and better. And yeah, visiting cool restaurants, going to a fun one today.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a topic I could talk about for years. So,
can I ask you a question? Because we were talking about negativity. Yeah, we're talking about negativity. I mean, you can even see on my channel, and this is a reminder, hey, press the like button. I already have 18 dislikes before this even started. Like, there's a lot of negativity, especially in the Japanese J-vlog community. So there's just a bunch of trolls out there. And how do you deal with it? Even putting your face out there, like, that's taboo in Japan. You put your face on something, you block it off with a sticker. And,
interesting. So how are their J-vloggers then? How do they do their thing? If they're does every J-vlogger get hate?
Absolutely. You know, for a variety of reasons, but that there's no real C-vlog community yet, but I think that's coming, and I hope that you and I can be the ones to make that a thing. I mean, they have vlogs, but it's not like the Japanese ones that are super popular.
But yeah, how do I deal with the
hate? Yeah.
At first, I was very raw. I still remember that some of the first hate I ever got, and it was before YouTube. I was cheerleading for an Australian rugby league team, and there was a photo of me put onto the internet. I was just in the corner of the photo, but I had really bad posture, and it was just a really unflattering photo of me. And there were people digging into my appearance and really being so mean, and I was so upset for so long about it. But that was kind of the first time I was exposed to that hate, but it kind of made me realize, oh, these people, I look on their profiles, like what authority do they have to call me fat or to call me ugly? Like, F you. And so that was the first time I ever got it. And a couple of comments that I got throughout my cheerleading kind of experience, it kind of prepped me for the hate of the YouTube world, because I'm used to people at least like dissecting my appearance or saying, oh, you look fat, you look this, you look that. So that whenever I get a
Yeah.
comment about my appearance on YouTube, that never really bothers me because I'm like, whatever. But what does get to me is when they, I don't know, talk more from a, what really bothers me. When they like question my values or they question my motivation for
Oh.
doing what I'm doing, that really gets to me because I'm trying to do a positive thing here. And when people come on and they say I have different motives or like, but I deal with it at the end of the day. Like I just talk with, mum and dad and they always keep me really grounded. I'm very lucky to have very supportive, lovely parents that if I'm sad, I go to them and whatever the topic is, like whatever I'm upset about, I'll come out of the conversation feeling really good. So I'm very lucky to have that support. And yeah, like sometimes I'll come across a comment that I'm like, oh, that's so mean. I feel sad. But at the end of the day, like haters will hate. Potato's gonna potate.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
It's especially, I just ignore it, but more or less, I especially with the ignorant comments, like, and I want to teach people. My goal is to teach people, but you can tell when they're trying to start a scandal or trying to they're not trying to learn at that point, where I'll say, okay, Oriental Pearl is the name of a famous tower. Anybody that knows about China would know about it. And just now, yeah, it's the name of a tower. No, it's not. Or I got this one. Check your white privilege. I was like, oh my gosh, what the man,
Yeah.
it's nasty. Like I got quite a lot of hate comments, but I think everyone does. Actually, I don't think I got picked on as much as other people do. So I can see why Japanese people don't want to put their stuff out there. There's a group of hikikomori. Hikikomori is like jainan. Jainan in Chinese. It's a group of guys that just sit in their underwear on their computer and type. But they say really nasty things. There was and this is very sad, there was a pro wrestler that committed suicide at the age of 22 in Japan last month or the month before because of internet trolling. So they're looking to get those guys and hold them accountable for what they say, and they're particularly nasty in Japan, like that, just that group of guys, or in Korea or in China. They can be even nastier than some of the Western trolls, like, dang. But they give their country a bad image, and I think that the Japanese people don't want to be known for that. Like, that's not most people doing that. They're just they hate those guys too.
Yeah, well,
yes, it's hard.
I think at the end, yeah, no, it's hard, and it's one of the like just the things that are going to come with the territory. If you're going to grow more on your channel, like it's just inevitable that they're going to be more weirdos that join up as well. So
yep, of course.
But yeah,
we expect the weirdos.
100%. Yeah. So you said that you love the Chinese food. I also love the Chinese food. Probably one of the things I love most about China is the food. I also, yeah. What are some of the things that maybe like I always talk about a lot of really positive things on my channel, but what are some of maybe the more negative aspects of China that you're not super keen on?
Oh, negative aspects?
Yeah.
Pressure to marry. Pressure put on women would be one.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you ever talk to some elderly Chinese, like
Always.
talk to some ayi, and you say, hi, 你好，很高兴认识你啊.
And we're like, this is my son. Are you interested?
你结婚了没? 你结婚了没?
Literally.
我还没结婚. I haven't gotten married yet. 要不要我给你介绍一个对象? 我认识一个人. Like, they'll say, do you want me to introduce someone to you? Like,
every single chat with an IE. Every time. Yeah. No, that's hilarious. And yeah, it's
the pressure to marry is kind of like harsh, I think that's gone away in Japan. For the most part, the parents they kind of step off, but that is pretty harsh, especially on women. You better get married before you're 30, or like, come on, there's not much difference between a 27, 28, 29 and 30-year-old. Give me a break. So that the age, the strictness on age, and actually Japan is like that too. They'll tell you when you apply for a job, we want someone between this age and that age, 25 to 35. Like, we can't even do that in America. That is illegal. It's called age discrimination. It's a protected class. Like, over 40 is a protected class. So no, that just goes here, and that kind of hurts, especially for women. Yeah.
No, yeah, so true. And
Yep.
I am seeing more and more people with more relaxed parents in China that are less strict about it. And I think it's going to be kind of an ancient concept in the next 100 years, because I think there's still a lot of really traditional values existing in China because things have changed so quickly. But I think maybe in the next generation or two, things are going to start getting a lot more relaxed in terms of marriage and some of those older traditional values. Just like yeah. One of the things I am not so keen about on China is just the overuse of plastic. Every time you eat something, it's covered in 3 layers of plastic. And all I can think about when I go, like, I always feel so guilty when I order takeaway because I'll have like this plastic graveyard in the corner of my room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like if so many people have takeaway. Anyway, it kind of makes me, I don't know. They've introduced a lot more like garbage disposal systems, which I'm happy is happening, but it's it's a crazy issue.
I'm sorry, I was laughing because Japan takes that to a whole nother level with the plastic over packaging. Oh my
really?
gosh.
Actually, I remember when I was in Japan and they were putting plastic around bananas. It's like, but bananas already have a protective skin.
Extra safe.
Yeah.
So as of July 1st in Japan, there's no more rejibukuro. Rejibukuro is like, you go to the convenience store, 你要不要袋子? Do you want a bag or not? And they won't give it to you for free anymore. So that's helping. That's helping.
Yeah.
That's very new. I was surprised. I was like, oh, no more bags. Well, good, Japan. That's a step in the right direction.
A question for you, Ann Ming. What was it like going from China, where you were very familiar with the environment, you kind of knew your footing? What was it like leaving that and that comfort and moving to a whole different environment? What were some of the struggles you faced? What were some of the things that you liked about doing that? How was that for you?
It just kind of goes back to what we were talking about with, feeling like you're really comfortable with one country and one language, and like, I'm the 中国通. And then you go to a new country and now you're the bottom of the bottom again. It's extremely humbling. And coming from a person, I didn't have a great personality in middle school and high school. I couldn't communicate well. I always came off bad, came off as kind of arrogant. I wasn't a people person. I hope that's changed now. I hope I don't come off as too much of a jerk.
I think you're lovely. I think you're lovely.
I don't think you would say anything else in a live chat.
No, I promise.
Just joking. But starting over is a humbling experience, and I might do it once again with Korean as well. Yeah.
What are some of the other Asian countries that we have visited? Is there someone knocking on your door?
Yeah, I have roommates. They're probably mad.
Oh, because it's so early. Oh no.
I mean, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm not answering. Some. Okay. Yeah.
I'm busy. We've been to quite a few places in Asia between the two of us. Like, what are some of the other places you've been to, and what are some of the unique things you found about both China and Japan in your travels, like that you haven't seen anywhere else?
I've been to quite a few Asian countries, Asia. I covered most of the countries in Southeast Asia, and went to Korea, went to, let's see, oh gosh, where did I go? I didn't go to Mongolia, missed that one. I still want to go, just mostly Southeast Asia, actually. Yeah. And then Japan. And I found that China and Japan still have unique things about them, but of course, there's a lot of similarities. Food culture, TV shows. Man, their style of YouTube videos, if you watch some Chinese or Japanese YouTube videos, it's like all these sound effects and like writing all over the screen, and everything's got jimaku or zimu, like
oh my gosh,
zimu, like subtitles.
Subtitles, yeah.
And that's an expectation. I found that in multiple countries. Like, this is just what everybody's come to expect.
Yeah. So I've been to, the first Asian country I went to was actually Japan. I went when I was like 13. and that was kind of all like a whole new world. It was my first big trip overseas. And then I went to India, my first trip by myself when I was 17. So that was really like, oh my gosh. India was fantastic, but also a huge culture shock. So that when I eventually went to China, I didn't find China so much of a culture shock because I had experienced like the biggest shock when I went to India and saw how different things can be. So yeah, India was really eye-opening, very different from any other culture I've experienced in Asia. And yeah, China, I found very different to what I was expecting. The thing I found super interesting about China when I first went there is the food culture. Like, I didn't know anything about Chinese food before I went to China, and I grew up eating the Mongolian lamb and the sweet and sour pork. Like, not that those are bad, they're delicious in their own way, but it's not necessarily Chinese food. So yeah, I found that the variety of cuisine was like super interesting when it came to China. And Japan, when I went to Japan, I was like stepping into cartoon land and neon lights everywhere, and everything was so colorful and exciting. And yeah, I love that vibe when I go to Japan.
You went to Tokyo?
I've been to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, but I definitely want to explore more. And I love how people all line up in Japan. Like, that's one of the biggest differences between China and Japan. Like, China people will rush onto the bus, like, who gets in first? Like, I want that seat. But in Japan, it's like
depends on the place. Depends on the place. In Heilongjiang, certainly. In Beijing, not so much. In Shanghai, not so much. In Shenzhen, I've been there too, not so much. In the countryside, absolutely. In the smaller cities, yeah. There's a big divide between the different areas of China. The Xibu, the western part, and then the eastern part.
Yeah, that's so interesting how that happens in China. Like, it's almost like two different places.
They tend to differ a lot.
Yeah. And I always find it interesting talking to people from the north and asking their opinions about the north. People from the north asking them about people from the south, and people from the south about their opinions from people in the north. But I guess it's not a uniquely China thing. I know a lot of countries have that as well. Like, you know, people from Australia from the south will be talking about differences between people from the east coast or the west coast or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the more you explore, the more you are discovering about these places and learning. I think it's super interesting.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Anything.
Just because you've been gone for so long, I was just wondering, did your accent change? Did you lose your Australian accent?
Never lost my Australian accent because, never lost my Australian accent. I would say that my Australian accent became probably actually less pronounced, because when I'm talking to people from different countries, they're not necessarily going to understand a lot of the Australian slang, and we have a lot of Australian slang, so I kind of like tone it down a bit. But one interesting thing that happened is, over the years, my Chinese accent, not that I really have a Chinese accent, but it's changed from a Shanghainese type vibe to more of a Beifang type vibe, because I initially studied in Shanghai at Fudan for a year, and then I went to study in Beijing. And so now in my speech, I have a lot more Huayin, and I'm doing the like the mer, mer, mer. But yeah, how about yourself? Did you lose your American accent at all?
What do you think? Everybody give a like to Michigan. Give a like to Michigan. I had so many comments, Amy, saying, your English has gotten strange. Your English is strange, probably from being in Japan. You probably have language attrition from being over there in China and speaking Chinese all the time, or speaking Japanese all the time. I was so curious about that. I went and asked my family if my accent had changed at all, because they would know. They said absolutely not. So you know what? Saying I sound non-native, man, Michigan is triggered. You just offended everybody in Michigan with those No, just kidding. But no, no, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed.
Does Michigan have its own accent in terms of like the American accent? I'm not too familiar with with that situation. Is there a Michigan accent?
It does.
Like, really?
It's Midwestern. It's Midwestern. Ooh. There's a few words that really pointed out, like crayon. We say it like crayon. I got to get my crayon. I'm going to go buy some crayons in Canada. I'm going to go to Canada, go over to Windsor, buy some crayons. It just sounds really different than the other places. But generally, it's pretty accent neutral. They say Ohio is the most accent neutral place in the whole United States.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But certainly my Chinese did change, just like yours, moving to different places in China.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a really strong Dongbei accent in the beginning. I'm surprised people can still hear it because I thought it was gone.
That's so interesting because I guess you've been in Shanghai for so many years now, or you were in Shanghai for so many years, and after coming from Dongbei, like, yeah, that would have been quite a change. Like, I don't know, actually, this is an interesting question, because when I was living in Shanghai and then I went to Beijing, and I found it so hard to understand the taxi drivers in Beijing because I was like, oh my gosh, the way that you speak is so different from what I'm used to in Shanghai. Did you have the same experience, but going from the north to Shanghai? Like, did you find it hard to understand?
No, but going to Gansu, absolutely. Or being around people from Fujian. Oh man, that was tough. But then I didn't feel too bad because other Chinese people told me they were having trouble understanding it. So I was like, okay, then I feel a little better.
No, I have a difficulty in Fujian as well because like so many people speak like Minnan-hua, and that kind of has a flow and effect into their Putonghua, their Mandarin. So I find it a little hard to understand.
You would think Japan, being such a small country, wouldn't have variations in the language, but actually it does. And there's accents in the north, like Tsugaru-ben, Tohoku-ben, the northeast, the Dongbei area of Japan. Oh my gosh, they have a language that sounds completely different than Japanese. Even Japanese people can't understand it. So even in this little bitty country, you go a couple hundred kilometers and there's an accent suddenly.
That's so interesting. I had no idea.
A long history.
Yeah. Now it kind of takes me into a topic I want to explore with you about some of the similarities and differences between China and Japan. So first topic I would like to talk about is food. Like what have been some of the similarities and differences you've experienced in terms of food going from China to Japan?
This is going to shock you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Similarities. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Rice.
Well, I am so shocked.
Okay, that one was so shocked. Rice and noodles. Absolutely. A lot of that.
Yeah. And I guess I saw that you did a video recently, or maybe it was just on your Instagram story, where you explored Japanese breakfast and Chinese breakfast. I love a good Chinese breakfast. What are some of the different similarities and differences when it comes to what's a Japanese breakfast look like?
They have a lot of seafood. So seaweed and salmon for breakfast. It's not uncommon to eat fish for breakfast.
Ah, interesting. Oh, cool.
It makes sense. It's an island, right? So definitely a lot of seafood.
Yeah, when I went to Japan, I don't think I can ever recall eating breakfast, which is probably the same as a lot of people when they come to China, because I feel like breakfast is that meal of the day that you have your traditions and you're like, I'm going to eat my toast. I'm going to have my, peanut butter jelly sandwich. So when I first went to China, it took me years before I went anywhere near Chinese breakfast. But now I'm like such a convert. Chinese breakfast is such like a topic in itself. But yeah, so does Japan have that breakfast food culture as like China does? Or is it less
it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I don't eat breakfast, so I don't fit in either country.
Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, so oh my god,
you can have mine too, because I won't be getting up early enough to eat it.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Oh, I can't wait to visit you in Japan or in China. I just want to shout out a couple of super chats here. Georgie is buying me a cup of coffee. Thank you so much. It is morning here, and I do need my coffee. And then another person here, Tinghe Cafe. Thank you for your super chat as well. I will be buying myself 2 coffees today. Many thanks for that. So Anmin, back to us. What are some of the differences and similarities when it comes to like culture in general? Like, I imagine there must be so many huge differences between like what daily life in Japan and China looks like. Have you noticed any big similarities or differences between the two countries?
Of course, I would say they're more similar than they are different, and I'm
Yeah.
I just I
Interesting.
think
Yeah.
they're a lot more similar than, for example, America or Germany or Australia. I mean, you have the Western individualistic countries, then you have
Yeah.
Eastern collectivist countries. So
Interesting.
you know, there's just a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
The study habits are certainly very similar. Like studying in schools, they're very similar. Their methods are very similar for studying, and as
Yeah.
well as a lot of countries in Asia.
Yeah.
Also, so I'll throw South Korea in there with
Yeah.
a lot of similar study habits. This busiban, you know, like after school programs
Hmm.
called juku in
Yeah.
Japanese. Lots of that, and I didn't have that as a kid, so I found that was kind of different from my culture, but Japan and China
Yeah.
had them in common.
That's so interesting.
Um, Work culture is a big difference. Chinese tend to get off of work a little easy or a little earlier, unless
Oh.
I mean certain areas are not. But Shanghai, they'll make you work pretty hard, pretty long
Yeah, yeah,
hours.
yeah.
But
I've heard that in Japan, the work culture is really intense, and to progress and like go up the ranks in a Japanese company is extremely difficult. Care to elaborate on that?
Sure, it totally depends on the company, because my boyfriend works for a Japanese company and they treat him really well. They treat
Oh,
him
great.
really well, but that's a big company and it tends to be harder to get into those companies. But they won't let
Hmm.
you go. Like it's not a big thing to fire people, and I
Yeah,
think that's very different from the West. I mean, in America, we fire people left and right. You know, like even if
yeah,
you do your job, it's like what's best for the company, not what's best for our
yeah,
relationship. So both China and Japan will create relationships with their colleagues. They'll invite them to
yeah.
weddings when someone gets married and go out to drink with each other after work, and that's just not something we do so much in the West.
Yeah, that's one of the big differences culturally I found between Australia or Western countries with China. It's like if you're going to want to do any kind of business with Chinese people, you can't just expect to walk into a business room, sign a contract and leave. Like you need to know what they're like when they're drunk. Like you have to drink at least 10 beers together. You need to go sing
But
KTV.
that's
You need to
Dongbei.
Oh, is that Dongbei
Okay.
culture? Like
That's very
I like with
Dongbei. It's some Mao Tai and stuff. Yeah. If
Oh
you
my
don't
God.
drink when you're doing business
Yeah.
in Dongbei, or even in front of friends, it's considered offensive. Like you have you're not. I mean, they'll let you slide,
Yeah.
but it would be much warmer and friendlier if you just took a shot with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The atmosphere will brighten up a lot.
Completely changed. Like I've been traveling in China with one of my friends who drinks. I don't typically drink very much or at all. And when it comes to like making friends or going out, my friend would make so many more friends because he would be smoking, he would be drinking, he would be, returning the shots and everything. And yeah, that's like it's a different kind of side of the culture and different kind of friend making, but yeah, it's an interesting part of the culture.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I ask you one question
yeah,
too? This is random. But I just want to get it before we end this, because we only have maybe 15 minutes left.
yeah,
Do you like YouTube, Amy? Because I really don't like
yeah,
YouTube, and I don't like a lot
yeah.
of the stuff on YouTube.
No, fair
Do you have
enough.
some
Like a
favorite channels? Because I had lost faith in YouTube a long time ago. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get involved, and I saw a lot of these
yeah.
videos, and I didn't like the content, the clickbait stuff, the I have perfect Chinese, and
Yeah,
don't.
well, to be honest, I don't
I
watch a
don't
lot of
know.
YouTube. I was originally making videos on Chinese social media, and I was getting really frustrated with it because I was putting in so much time and so much effort, but I wasn't making any money. I was actually spending a significant amount of money on Weibo. If you want your post to be seen by your whole subscriber base, you have to pay a lot of money, and I was getting really frustrated with that. So it just got to a point where I think I was in Germany and I was a little bored. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, where's my life going? Like, I can't keep spending money on this platform and earning nothing. So I started putting some of my
Right.
videos on YouTube. I had never really watched it much at all, and still to this day I only watch like the stuff that my YouTuber friends are making. So I'll be watching your stuff. I'll be watching, my other friends that are doing YouTube, and I watch a lot of like camera and editing kind of videos to learn stuff. But
Right.
me myself, I don't. I don't really yeah, I see it more as a platform to like get my ideas out there and just to spread some love and positivity. But I think
That's
it's almost better not to like pay attention to what other people are doing, because firstly, it keeps your messages unique and keeps your videos unique. You're not like basing it off anyone else. It's not, you're not copying anyone's like ideas. So I like it for that. And also, if you don't kind of read in too much into other people, what they're doing, you don't compare yourself. And like the speed at which people are growing, and it's only normal on YouTube that people will shoot up or slow down. And if you kind of get into like, oh, that person's growing so fast, I'm not growing so fast, like I get a bit stressed. But what about yourself?
I that's not the thing that I didn't like about YouTube. It was other stuff. And I had been inspired by one YouTuber, and one YouTuber really got me to want to continue to make this channel, and that was Bald Bankrupt. Bald Bankrupt is like my hero. He does exactly what I think foreigners should be doing, walking around talking to people. You don't need always fancy editing or drones or all this 100%. High-tech stuff. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just show how things really are. You know, we have cable, we have National Geographic, we have lots of documentaries. I don't think YouTubers need to make documentaries. But the things I didn't like were the clickbaity titles or the arrogance, and I understand, and I've paid the price for not doing super clickbaity stuff. I really didn't. And I tried not to use words like, I'm a white girl that speaks Chinese, because I really don't like labeling myself as a white girl. And I don't like when other people label me as a white girl who speaks Chinese. Like, I think there's more to offer there. And I just don't like those words. But I mean, people can write whatever they want. But I always wanted my channel to be kind of a counter to the clickbaity stuff. But I mean, you pay the price, because I see that it hurt my numbers a lot. That's why I just hope to get some more support from viewers, because if you want authentic content and you don't like that clickbaity stuff, those titles, or people having to exaggerate, this is the best place ever, this is I don't know, just really extreme language, the best, the worst, the craziest, perfect, amazing stuff. I don't know. If you don't like that kind of stuff, then support the channels that are not doing that. But I mean, because the algorithm's not going to pick it up. It's how it is. Yeah,
that's the thing. And in this day and age, there are so many people competing on YouTube for viewers' attention. So those kind of really flashy thumbnails and titles are getting the attention. It's something I really need to look into more, how to, you know, make my videos look more appealing to passerbyers. But something you told me the other day when we were chatting, Anming, was, you know, people don't need to see this flashy cinematography. They're coming to your channel to see real, authentic experiences, and to see interactions and funny, interesting cultural things. And yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, it's something that when it comes to like the travel vlogging industry, it's become very saturated, full of very beautiful, kind of well edited cinematic kind of vlogs. And that can be replicated, but what can't be replicated is a conversation or a really interesting chat you've had on the road. And that's one of the things I appreciate most about your channel, is you're keeping it really real and those authentic experiences. So again, everyone who's watching, make sure you're subscribed to Anming. Also, if you'd like, you can subscribe to me as well. Ditto. That would be much appreciated.
Yes, please do. Please do. Subscribe to Amy. And I don't like to say that. That's the other thing I don't like to say is subscribe to me, like it, click the notification bell. Those were things that I hated hearing on YouTube and turned me off. I was watching these videos like, oh my gosh, this stuff is so cringe. I can't continue with this.
It's interesting.
And then I find myself having to do it. I didn't want to do that stuff, but I see why they do it, because you really pay the price if you don't get in with the algorithm stuff. And I just didn't want to do that. And then I don't know. I'm at a crossroads here. I'll have to do a little bit of it, but I don't like it. And I don't want to be that white girl who speaks Chinese. Just because I'm a white girl, you should watch me in Japan. You should watch me in China. I hate that stuff too. I don't like that kind of stuff. To be honest,
at the end of the day, you have a very loyal and excited subscriber base, and I'm sure they'll support you with whatever you want to do and what content makes you happy. So yeah, it's interesting when it comes to the algorithm. I'm still learning so much. I've never really looked into it. I've just been posting stuff that I want to post, but now I'm like, oh, maybe I need to be a bit more analytical, a bit more strategic in how I'm making videos in order to capture a bigger audience. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think if you're feeling good about the content that you're making, if you're happy and passionate, that'll be infectious. And I think, I don't know, it looks like you're having a fun time in your videos, which is infectious. And I think, yeah. Yeah.
Some people had said, just be yourself, just do your thing. The tough part is if you're trying to make an income out of it. And I'm not allowed in Japan at this time, so I have to play the game too. And I don't really like the rules, but I guess at the end of the day,
like,
you have to play a little. You have to play a little.
Yeah, but I guess your channel is your channel, and I support you, and I'll keep spreading the good word about the Oriental Pearl channel to anyone who cares to listen.
And at the end of the day, I think that all it's doing, most of it, what it's doing, what all the channels are with speaking Chinese and Japanese, it's just encouraging people to learn. So that's great. If that's the result, then that's wonderful, whether or however it needs to get done. If people are just looking at that and saying, I want to learn Chinese, I want to learn Japanese, well, whatever, if it's clickbait or not, at least the result is good.
100%. Like, I will see a video as a success by like the kind of comments that I get on it, no matter if it's, small views, big views. When I get a message that's like, wow, like you actually showed me something about this country that I had no idea, I had no idea it was like this, and you've really opened my eyes to, some of the other sides of the culture. That gives me such enormous job satisfaction. Like, even if it's just helping one person see like a different side of a country. Oh, sorry, I just cut out for a second, I think. But anyway, long story short, I really like what I'm doing here on YouTube, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to JK. In the past few live streams, he's been putting some super chats towards my new camera, and I'm actually thinking of buying that this weekend. How's your new camera going?
Somebody said, why aren't they speaking Chinese together?
我们可以说中文吧。
非常好，可以说中文。都行，日文也行。你会日文吗？会一点点吗？ You speak Japanese？
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます，就是谢谢的意思。好，那我再教你几句话怎么样？日文。
好，来。
因为可能观众想看我们讲外语。
好的，
不支持英文。
老师来。
好，日文的话，初次见面的时候，跟日本人见面的时候要说よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
Hey,
よろしくお願いします。よろしく。
I think you have a Chinese accent. 你讲日文的时候有点中国味道。You have a little Chinese accent in your Japanese, but I do too.
Oh, well, it's better than having Australian accent, I guess.
挺有意思的。好，还有一句话。我应该教你什么？頑張ってください。頑張ってください。加油的意思。加油。
頑張ってください。Yeah, 頑張ってください。
頑張ってください。这太可愛了。
頑張ってください。
I think you know a lot of the words like kawaii and oishi. Those are like
oishi. I love that. Yeah. Are there any words, because there are a lot of words in Chinese that I can't really translate to English. Are there any words in Japanese that are like uniquely Japanese, like kind of like the kawaii, the oishi, but I guess oishi is just like tasty, right? Is there any other?
Natsukashi.
What's that mean?
Natsukashi is one of them. It's like nostalgic, but I don't say that much in English. I feel nostalgic when I see this picture. It just doesn't come up a lot. I don't even know how you'd say that in Chinese. 是就, there's no good word.
So, I definitely don't know.
看到这张照片的时候，就把以前发生的事情想起来啊，就是个美丽的。
对，
不是美丽的，就是一个很好的一个回忆，美好的回忆。
美好的回忆。Oh, yeah, one thing that I'd never say in English. Well, actually, I do weirdly sometimes. 缘分, like it was meant to be. That's a fun one.
To have,
it was缘分.
It was fate.
It was fated. What songs?
No,
oh,
that doesn't work. It was fated.
It was fated.
I'm going back to the have you lost your English question. No,
No, I totally, after when I was living in China for a period of time and I was living with my Chinese roommates. So every day, all day, I was speaking Chinese. I was dreaming in Chinese. It was the best my Chinese has ever been. When I would have a FaceTime call with my parents, it would be super awkward because I'd be losing my words. I'd be like, what's this word? What's that word? It was so weird. So weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
any other words? One last word in Japanese. What the heck can I teach you? Something useful.
How do you say?
If you're...
Oh, yeah.
How
do I introduce myself in Japanese?
Well, that would be hajimemashite.
Hajimemashite.
Hajimemashite. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu.
Hajimemashite. Yoroko adeshimasu.
Amy です。
Amy です。
私は Amy です。よろしくお願いします。
私は Amy です。お願いします。
If you want to say it really formally, like you're talking to your audience, よろしくお願いいたします。
お願いします。
But they don't do this in Japan. This is Thailand.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
For some reason, I associate that with Japan. It's just the bowing in Japan, right? Or not?
It is bowing, but no hands. Unless that's praying. That would be praying.
It's interesting how gestures and mannerisms change with different countries. Like India, I love the head wobble. Oh my gosh, the head wobble is the best in India, and in China, it's
Japan,
a lot of
watashi, me. In English, it would be me. Watashi. Yeah, you point to your nose when you talk about yourself.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. What else?
これは私のもの? Is this mine?
Oh my god, that's so cute.
这是我的吗? And then Chinese with the 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do they do?
我想买6个. 我想买6个. Like when I'm in Japan, I use it by accident. I want 6. Like I'll say it by accident. And with this,
so they don't
gesture.
Use the hand gestures for the same. What am I even trying to say? The same hand gestures for counting in Japan, or not at all?
No. No, it's like I have 6, 7, 8.
Oh.
They'll do it like that. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Versus Chinese 6. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in Chinese, and that varies by location in China as well.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I didn't know that it changed in different locations. Oh, so knowledgeable.
I don't know, Amy. There's a lot of stuff I don't know too.
Yes. Oh man. So what are your plans for the rest of your weekend? What's in store for you?
I'm going to release a new video speaking Finnish and Japanese and Chinese. I don't speak Finnish, but my friend does. He taught me, and it's just a comedy. But I'm testing out new videos now, so I'm hoping to get that one out for you guys within the next 10 hours. So that'll be my weekend, putting that video out. Trying new things.
I love that.
I got to get out of the... shocking people with Chinese trend. I don't think that's going to be sustainable forever. I'll keep doing some, but it's not going to sustain the channel for years to come. I'm getting that feeling. It was a trend.
I enjoy
them. It seems to be on the low.
I think it's
January to May, January to June. That was the hot thing to do. But I see that it's kind of dying out.
Well, interesting. I'm so excited to see some of your new content. I have a video coming out in a few days about me speaking Chinese for 24 hours in Sydney. That was a fun one to make. So I'm really excited to release that. So you can check that out on Tuesday. I'll be releasing that. But do you have any last things you'd like to say? Any comments from the chat you'd like to answer before we say fare thee well for today? And I'll let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
好，最后我想说谢谢，非常感谢，谢谢 Blondie in China， 你邀请我跟你一起做直播，我真的很荣幸，觉得非常好玩。我也是这么想的。勉強になりました。勉強になりました。Oh, see, I said don't do this, and I did it.
No, that was super fun.
还有什么应该说？我希望我天都看常想回中国各样的原因，因为男朋友在那边，对不对？然后希望我们回到中国以后，可以在中国见面，一起做视频，怎么样 ？I hope that we can do videos in China together when we get back.
Yeah, 我太期待了。I'm also excited to maybe visit you in Japan. I would love that. Hopefully, I can expedite my Chinese learning process, and I'll be advanced by the time that we meet, and then I'm ready to get my hands dirty with learning a new language and really get into the hard stuff again. Looking forward to it. It was so nice to chat with you today.
Right.
Thank you to everyone who joined the chat, everyone from my chat, everyone from Anming's chat. I'm really looking forward to doing this again. There's so many things I'd love to chat with you about. And so yeah, don't forget to, I'm going to do the thing. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channels. And we will see you next time. Thank you, beautiful people. Bye, guys.